viewers, welcome to another episode of The Legends. Today we are at the PCEA head office where we interview one of the greatest people in the church today, not necessarily a legend, but a legend in his own way, the Deputy Secretary General of the PCEA, Reverend Paul Kariuki, who occupies the hot seat. Hot seat in the sense that he has to deal with the transfer of ministers, which is not a very easy thing to do. So welcome to the program, Reverend Kariuki. Say hi to the viewers.
Thank you. I say hi to the viewers. Praise the Lord. It is a joy to be here. I didn't know that I was a legend, maybe a legend in the making, and I didn't know that I was also great. But I want to appreciate this opportunity to come here and interact with you viewers. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Reverend Kariuki, you have occupied the position of the Deputy Secretary General of the PCEA, a position that deals with the transfer of ministers for close to 4 years. So what is your experience in that particular position?
Wow, you ask about experience of the Deputy Secretary General.
Yes.
It is a good experience, one, to be known that you are the Deputy Secretary General, okay. But it's not about the title, it is about work.
Now, not that I know a lot about, but I have overheard that there was a proposal to split the office of the DSG into 4 positions. Was there something like that?
That is true.
So, would you recommend that you go that direction?
Now this came as a proposal in the last GAC.
Yes.
Because of the nature of work. And I forgot one thing.
Yes.
That also the Deputy Secretary General is the head of HR. So that would mean, posting is not just posting, it is because of those people are under you. And therefore, even here at the head office, we have over 50 staff. And then the ministers all out there. So you're also the head of HR. I guess that is the reason why a proposal came, that why don't we subdivide this office and have like 3 other people come so that they can have different departments. If you would ask me, that is very wise.
Okay.
Because when you're doing so many things, you tend not to be very efficient in others. For example, in the last GAC, it was passed that we can employ a HR person. So what we are doing right now is trying to organize an organogram, okay, so that we can know how far does the HR person go. Does this HR person do appointments? The proposal in terms of having another DSG is that one could deal with HR issues, yes. Another one could deal with administrative issues. And I keep forgetting so many. There's a lot the deputy does. Remember also the committee for boundaries.
Wow.
Right? Wow. So any subdivision of the presbytery, any subdivision of the parish, it is the deputy who goes all over the country doing subdivisions. I guess it's because of that, that wisdom was raised, and I would have no objection actually. Maybe we could begin with one more, so that at least we could have 2 deputies, yes. So that one can maybe deal with HR and the other can deal with administrative matters. And in case when the finance officer is not there, if there was a transition and the church finds itself in a position there is no FO, the Deputy Secretary General assumes the role of FO.
Wow.
So there's a lot.
Now it's good to hear that. You have been there, done that. So you have that experience. And so your word is very important when you give us that word of advice. Now let's come to the issue of posting. What has been your experience with the posting of ministers?
Wow. You want me to burn my fingers?
No, go ahead. The truth is the truth.
That is a very interesting issue. Very complicated. Sometimes very emotive. And sometimes even very political. Yes. Because it depends on how one sees it. Remember that the ministers out there, many pray, because it touches on their family, it touches on their ministry. So this is a very sensitive matter that needs to be handled with a lot of sobriety. And for the last 3.5 years or so that I've been there, I wouldn't say that it has been easy, but I've quite enjoyed it in terms of, I told God that I don't want to do appointments before prayer.
Okay.
So I always have time to seek God, because definitely I know it's going to affect people in a very big way. But remember, we are 300, 400 ministers. So it's an enormous task. Of course, we have an appointment that comes around March. We have an appointment that comes around July, and another appointment that comes around October. So the October, of course, is known as the major one, because it involves quite a number of people. Now you asked me about my experience.
Yes.
One is that it's like doing an exam. Have you done a paper that is so intense? And you know, your lecturer will ask you to back and forth, go look at this, go look at this, until it's perfect. Sometimes I would wish that I can push the date for appointment further, so that I don't do it.
Yes.
But then I have to do it. And therefore this is an exercise that you begin 2 months before. Because in the PPEA it says that you liaise with the presbyteries, so that at least you're able to know the needs of the staffing there. So you are engaging throughout with the presbyteries. They are telling us this presbytery, this parish needs this kind of a person. You know, so when it comes to the real posting, of course there are some guidelines. One is the number of years one has stayed in a station. So you would go and look at all the people and the number of years they have served. The PP says 5, plus or minus. So you would go to all those people who have gone 5 years. Then again, you want to balance issues of gender. You know, you cannot just post one gender in the same presbytery. So you're trying to balance the issues of gender, but also the issue of leadership. You are looking at, yes, do you just post all the new ministers in one single presbytery? You don't want to do that. So you're looking also at the ages and the experiences of the people you're posting there, so that you're able to balance. Also in terms of families, you are trying to balance, because I don't want to send you all the way where your family is so far, and maybe there are some issues in your family, somebody is ailing, right? There are such kind of requests. There are also personal requests, because somebody may be having a condition, and maybe this condition cannot be exposed maybe to a hot place, cannot be exposed to a cold place. So there are those medical reports. Somebody comes and says, I have this condition. So there are a lot of things that you have to consider when it comes to posting. And therefore there's something that requires prayer. There's something that requires also a lot of liaising together with the presbyteries before now you arrive to the final draft. Now when you get the draft, you now sit with the office, the G office. You want to consult them, you want to consult the moderator, you want to consult the Secretary General, the Honorary Treasurer. You know, you sit down as an office, because this is not about you. Because they also have an eye and a concern actually because of the church. So I take them through, I tell them, okay, this is the reason why I'm doing this. I'm posting this person here because of this reason. So we agree. And finally, I have the final draft that I have to take it now to the appointments committee. So there we are. They can say yes, they can say no. But I can tell you that it's such a rigorous process that for 2 months or so, you are just sitting down, sometimes burning the midnight oil. I know that there are times I have gone to sleep at 2 in the morning. I remember the last appointment, we left this place at 3 in the morning. We left at 3 in the morning, then woke up again, and at 7 we were here. You know, we went and looked at that list, and although the meeting is, we are supposed to begin the meeting at 10, we began at midday. So it is not as easy as people think, but there we are, it has to be done.
Wow, wow. These are some of the things that some of us will never get to know, but now we are learning gradually. So, but I want to go back to the time that you became DSG. And due to the unfortunate demise of our former Secretary General, the late Reverend Kania, and we didn't have a Secretary General in the office, you were new as a DSG, and then you had to act as the Secretary General for quite a while until when you came to the GA. What was your experience then?
Talk about baptism by fire.
Yes.
That is what it was.
Okay.
Because I remember the fact that when the elections were announced, and I was told that the DSG, remember a team coming home to ask me whether I will accept. I said, okay. Then I had to come for a GAC to be received. Of course, first of all, you have now to work with the current office, particularly the DSG, just to train you on a few things before the GAC or the GA for that matter, where you are going to be received. I was received, but remember that time was the time that COVID broke out. When now the office was handed over to me by Reverend Kanga, the former DSG, you know, we sat just both of us in the office because there was no staff, there was nobody, and therefore I was handed over an empty office without staff because there was nobody in this place. And you know, we stayed that way until around July, August. That is when I started seeing people trickling in. I didn't know who was who in the office because there was nobody to take me around and tell me and introduce me to the staff I was to heed. But the toughest thing is that immediately I assumed office. Remember, now we are working with the Secretary General, the late Reverend Peter Kania. Of course, I really enjoyed, working with him those few months. But then I didn't know that, you see, there's no appointment, there is nothing, the church is closed, we were preaching through CAC TV. And then the most unfortunate thing is that the person whom I'm to work with as the Secretary General now passes on. So my first job, my first work, if I may call it, was to lead a service of the, the Secretary General. It was not easy at all. So that's why I said baptism by fire. You know what happened? Now, according to the PNP, it is the Secretary General who calls for the business. Here I am, the Deputy Secretary General. I have no mandate. But how do I run the church? The moderator cannot call. It has to be the Secretary General. The Secretary General has passed. I had to call business to come and give me power to call them.
Who had given you the power to call them?
Nobody, I just told them I'm calling you because there's nobody to call you, so that you can give me power to call you. Wow. So that we are in a crisis. Yes. I mean, this is something that never happened, right? So when they came, I'm glad that they gave me the power by conferring me as the acting Secretary General. So with those powers as the acting Secretary General, I could convene now a business so that we could now plan actually the service of the funeral as the acting Secretary General. And now I was holding two positions. I'm the Deputy and the acting Secretary General. And remember also, we were heading to elections, right? Because the DSG that time was to act as a transition officer, because we were electing a new Secretary General, we were electing a new moderator, right? Although elections for the Secretary General had been done earlier, and Reverend Dr. Robert Wehenya had been elected. Remember, he had been given 1 year to go. So he was not in the office. And therefore he could not also come to call the business because he was in school as per the provisions of the constitution. And therefore, as an acting secretary general, I was also the transition officer as the DSG. So I also prepared the General Assembly in terms of went through that elections. Then also prepared the General Assembly, became the transition officer because I acted even up to the General Assembly before the new Secretary General is, comes in. So it was really tough. It was really difficult to hold those two positions together, jumbling between you are in this seat, you are in that seat. Do you know what? I would receive a letter as an acting Secretary General. Of course, all communication must be done by the Secretary General. And therefore, I receive a letter, the acting Secretary General for the DSG. So I would write, attention to the DSG Act. Then I would go to my office as the Deputy Secretary General, because this is a HR issue. I cannot act on it as the Secretary General. So I would go to my office as the Deputy Secretary General and then implement what the acting Secretary General said.
The issue that came up when you had to take over as the acting Secretary General upon the demise of the late Reverend Kanya. And it seems that you have a lot of experience in that work right now, the experience that no one else in this church has. Is there a word of advice to the church in matters transition, just in case, God forbid, something like that like this ever comes again to the church? Because I tend to think your experience should be written down.
I agree with you that definitely things happen so that we are able also to prepare for tomorrow. That was a very unfortunate incident that had not been envisaged in our constitution. And I believe that, first of all, it's good to acknowledge our constitution because the way the crafters of the constitution in their wisdom planned that during one GAC or GA, the transition officer would be the Deputy Secretary General. Then the next one, it would be the Secretary General. Like the one that I had during the demise of the late Secretary General, it was the DSG who was doing the transition. Now the next General Assembly, it is the Secretary General who will be the transition officer, because then the deputy would be leaving. The moderator will be leaving in terms of he has done his 3 years. The HT has done his 3 years, and therefore it is only the Secretary General who has done 3 years and has 3 more years to go, and therefore before he does his 6 years, in between he becomes the transition officer. So our constitution in terms of transition had planned it very well, but in an eventuality such a very unfortunate incident happens, I guess there is some lacuna somewhere that needs to be addressed through our committees, that so that it doesn't leave like the Deputy Secretary General now with without constitutional powers to act on such kind of a thing. So I'm writing as a deputy to members of the business now as who, and there used to be it is the Secretary General who writes to the business to invite them to advise the Secretary General. Therefore, in future, I hope that one can be considered so that it can be upon review of our constitution, it can be included somewhere, because things happen.
Can you do that as a paper? Write it as a paper so that it can be somewhere on record. Yeah. Now let's go to another topic. There are so many people in this church who feel that the church should do away with the projects and concentrate on the core mission, the mission of the church. What is your opinion on that? I know we need both. We need the finances and also we need the mission work to go on. For you to carry out mission or God's work, they say you need 3 things. They say you need talent. They say you need what is the other? Resources. They talk about tithes when they are talking about resources. And you cannot be able to carry out this mission
without finances. It becomes very difficult. And in the wisdom of those who set up this church, they set up the foundation. You know, the foundation, Presbyterian Foundation, in fact, if you look at the way it is set in our PNP, it looks for carry out business to raise money for mission. And therefore, as the church carries out its mandate of preaching the gospel, the foundation is there to do business. So that that's why it is a company by guarantee, so that it can carry out, business to get money to support mission. And therefore, in terms of doing away with projects, to me, I would say no. We need them. The question is how we do business. Not whether we need business, it is how we do business. Yes. That is an issue. Okay. But we need it.
Okay. That's a very important response to that question, so that you can put to rest so many questions that are being raised right, left, and center. Now, we have this Regents program, and this program has been concerned about the welfare of the retired ministers. And we have gone around interviewing retired ministers, not all of them, because we are going one by one and trying to learn from their experiences and get to know how they are spending life in retirement, and also their relationship with the active ministers. So it's a very, for me, it has become, a very good experience for me, but I am now gathering from the viewers that it is also important to them to get to know what is happening to the retired ministers. So, what can the national church? I know the presbyteries are in charge of the retired ministers. How about the national denominations? Is there a formal way of dealing with retired ministers?
First of all, you know what?
Yes.
I'm counting the years that I'm left to retire.
But not before me.
Of course. And therefore, I know that I'm a candidate.
Yes.
You're also a candidate, and therefore we should look soberly at this issue. Not forgetting that the retired ministers are the foundation upon which we stand.
Yes.
These are the people who walked the parishes, the parish, the presbyteries right now, the parishes they used to serve are presbyteries. And you would find that one retired minister in the parish that he was serving, it has been subdivided even up to 3 presbyteries. And this person was serving alone. So we should appreciate the work that they have done.
Yes.
Beside that, I know they have a lot of experience they can share with this church. So anybody thinking about pushing away the retired ministers, I don't think it's right. They are very important to this church, and therefore this church needs to look at them. Of course, as you say, presbyteries, because that is where they retire, they of course choose where they want to retire in terms of the home presbyteries, and that is where we post them, okay? Through a letter of the Secretary General, where they choose, so that it can be taken there. Of course, many different presbyteries have different policies in terms of the package, the token that they can be giving monthly for the upkeep and looking at these retired ministers. But sometimes we have gone round and you will find the retired ministers whose gown, is so old, and on the shoulders here, it has faded, and sometimes even their collar, it's faded, their shirts are faded, and this presbytery is not taking good care of the retired ministers. So we would urge firstly that the presbyteries should look well, take care of these retired ministers, because they are our wealth. They may not have the strength they had. We are also going there, and therefore they need to take care of them. Now you are asking at the national level. Of course, in the previous ministers fraternal, that issue came up. The previous 2, that issue came up, and we decided we need to bring all the retired ministers together. And we did organize a one-day forum here for all of them, and they came in large numbers. Remember, there were over 100 here. and we had a wonderful time. They were so excited to see each other. They have stayed for so long without seeing each other. Now from that, we developed kind of an office that we were calling a national retired ministers office, just for the purpose of bringing them together. So this is a roadmap. We thought that the issues that they raised need to be crystallized and escalated maybe to a policy level. So what we need to do is first of all go around, meet them at their regions. In fact, just today I was trying to come up with the dates because they have to go to all our 5 regions, meet actually with the regional offices, meet with the retired ministers there, because not all could make it here. Some of them are not able to come all the way. So this national office needs to go down to the regions so that they can collect those views, sit with the regions, reason together, and then they can bring all those issues here. Then we are able actually to have a write-up that we can escalate maybe to the higher offices. Of course, what they really desire to do, and I'm excited about that, is they are proposing to have kind of an encyclopedia, so that each region is going to be given maybe a certain chapter on what to write, so that maybe through interviews, through write-ups, something can be brought together about the church history, because these are the elders, these are the elderly people who know the history of this church. But beside that, how do we take care of them? The last time we were talking with them, they were telling me not only what we can do for the church, what the church can do for us, what can we do for the church? Because we still have a lot we can do for the church. But as you ask, is that once they collect all those views, then we can crystallize them in a kind of a policy so that we can see how at the national level the retired ministers can be taken care of. Yes.
So now, you are just a few months away from from handing over the office of the DSG. What can you say have been your achievements in that office, in a nutshell?
If you would tell me, if I would be honest with you, if this church gives a person a second chance to be a DSG, I would turn down the offer. I would tell them, thank you.
Is that an achievement?
Let me go to the parish. Okay. Why? Yeah. Because I feel that I've given it my all. One is that I had longed to digitize this office so that when the next person comes, of course, the church is growing bigger. Maybe the first DSG had 100 ministers to deal with. The second one had 200. Now you're handing over to me 400 ministers to deal with. They have histories. Like you are ordained here, you are licensed here. This was your first parish. Then you went to the second parish. Then I am here doing the appointment, and I cannot have all that data. Yes. So you'll find I'll always make a mistake and take you back maybe to where you are ordained, where you are licensed. Then you tell me, no, you're sending me back to the place where I was. So if a person comes after me, they will find data, right? Where maybe at the click of a button, they can see Minister so-and-so was maybe ordained here, licensed here, posted here, so that when they are doing the appointments, they can reduce the number of maybe mistakes that they would do. That was my desire. I had also another desire that maybe my predecessor will come and take it to the next level. I desired that we can push and this issue of having ministers where they can retreat for after burnout, where they can go and maybe just have some rest somewhere, do some research somewhere, right? So that after just going and working, they can have a place they can retreat maybe. The presbytery maybe can think about sponsoring them. That's why I visited Honey Farm, where the church initially had thought of having a retreat center there. So because there's some land there, we thought we could look for a donor and develop kind of a place where ministers maybe could just have a retreat somewhere, so that at least they can also refresh and come back stronger.
Okay.
So that has been my desire. I also approached the donor. In fact, we did a write-up here. It's only that the money was not approved because of the COVID issue. Otherwise, that is my desire.
Okay.
That at least ministers can have some place they could retreat and refresh, so that they could go on.
Okay.
Yes.
And what can you say have been the main obstacles to the success of your work as a DSG?
A lot of work.
A lot of work.
I say that there is so much to do that you find yourself running and running and running, and if you're not careful, you can suffer burnout. I don't know about my previous predecessors, but then again, as I counted 2 years we began, there is a lot to do. You can be in committees, you can be in subdivisions, you can be in the appointment, you can be in the hospitals. Like, hospitals would do a board meeting because there are needs that come, and then an executive board is called within no time, right? So Kikuyu calls for a board because there's an issue they want to ventilate on. Tomotomo calls the same day, right? So where do you go? Or they call a day after the other. So you're in Tomotomo today, the next thing you're in Kikuyu, the other day you are in Mombasa, so that you can also look at boundary issues. Then again, when it comes to dedication of churches, the moderator, that is his work, but he cannot handle the dedications alone. So there we are as an office. Where do you go? The moderator says, I'm going to Pwani. SG, where are you going? Kitale. DSG, where are you going? Meru. So the whole of the week you've been running with subcommittees and board meetings. Then on Sunday again, you have to travel all the way to Meru to go dedicate a church. So there is a lot of work to be done, but I appreciate that I have had the opportunity. But then again, I began by saying that appointments can be political.
Okay.
So sometimes people will say, no, you didn't post me where I should have gone. Then you make some enemies out of some people, they don't like you. But you did your best. And your conscience tells you that you did your best for this church.
Okay. Now, maybe out of curiosity, do you have a driver?
Wow. You're reminding me of my many things that I have not done. Because it was resolved, this is a resolution of the business committee, it allowed that the Deputy Secretary General have a driver. The moderator has a driver, the Secretary General has a driver, and I've been driving myself. But then the business said, no, this work is too much, you need a driver. So we are recruiting a driver. So I believe that the one who comes after me will find a driver because of this nature of work.
Oh, that is good.
Yes.
I was just concerned because of that, so much traveling back and forth, and again, you need to go meditating and planning on some issues when you are traveling.
Do you know what?
Yes.
Is that sometimes you have to put a bag in your car because you may not reach home, because you come from Kikuyu and you're needed in Kitale, and therefore you travel up and down. But I've been driving myself. Yes. It's tough, but I appreciate it.
Wow, you're a strong man. And thank you for your service to this church. And we must say that it may not have been easy, but you have done your part to the glory of God. So thank you for creating time amidst your busy schedule and a lot of work to sit down and talk about what you know, what you have experienced to the Regents program. And I know viewers are happy because now they are a little bit more informed. So thank you so much for your time. We wish you well. Any future plans? Anyway, that is for the church to decide.
Future plans is to appreciate. One is my family, Monica. She has been a strong pillar. Victor and my son Favor, my daughter Favor, they have been a blessing. Future plans, once I'm done with the Deputy Secretary General, is to go to the parish and serve God. Because my first calling is the ministry. I'm a minister. I've been given this administrative position by the church. But once I'm done, is that I will go back to the parish and serve God and preach the word of God.
Yes.
You know what? I will be preparing. I told you the work of the DSGS to prepare for those events. So I will be preparing the General Assembly that I will be handing over.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And it would be my joy.
Thank you for your time,
Thank you so much.
for this program, and even for your time as the Deputy Secretary General. May the Lord bless you even in your future ministry. Viewers, thank you for listening to the Deputy Secretary General. And this brings us to the end of the last episode of the second season of the Regents program. See you in the next season. God bless you.